Welcome back again, guys. This is the final episode of the LB Works F430, and as you can see, we're done. So I'm going to kind of bring you through all the areas here and what I liked about it, what I didn't, what I find most difficult, and then we'll just go from there. So probably one of the more glaring things that you can see was kind of my own fault and just an experimentation. And that's the windshield here. You can see it's quite foggy. The reason for that is I decided to try out the KBS Diamond Clear Coat. I saw a lot of people online saying it's a great one-stage clear coat, and I figured, why not give it a try? So I tried it. I've seen it sprayed onto clear plastic parts, and then I've seen people use them, or use it to actually dip fishing lures in it, and they all turned out okay. So I tried it on some polystyrene, some clear acetate, and you know, I kind of got mixed results. I got some that were kind of foggy, some that were clear, so I figured, hey, why not? Just go for it. And as you can see, it did mar and fog up the plastic very well. So, but as you can see on the rest of the body here, it was sprayed with 30% xylene because it is benzene based, and the xylene is the only thing that actually thins it, or KBS's branded #1 clear. So a very nice clear. I didn't take any polishing whatsoever. I did try polishing it on a separate piece, and it doesn't really like to be polished all that much. It kind of absorbs liquid wax, so if you just leave it after you've sprayed it, it's a great one-stage clear to you know, to throw on, and you know, it's probably something that I'm going to use more often for my builds. So let's just go, I guess we'll work from the top down. So the removable hardtop, you know, it might suit you better if you figure out some sort of magnet system to put it on and off, but it seats quite well on the two kind of, I guess you'd call the sun visors, and if you place it right, it kind of sits flush here on the body, and then just not gluing it makes it removable, nice to take pictures, all that sort of fun stuff. I used the photo etch for the mirrors here, that fit okay. Didn't use the photo etch here for the rear view mirror, it was kind of up and out of the way. And what else can we go for? Oh, we got the, you could probably see them deep inside here, is the photo etch windshield wipers. You get a set with the Fujimi, and you get a set with Hobby Design. I'm going to save the Fujimi ones for different builds sometime in the future. In the main dash here, the only other added part was this kind of F430 plate, and then of course just behind the steering wheel here are the paddle shifters, and you could probably just barely make out the minus sign there and the plus sign on the inside here. It was a really nice added detail. It does come with a little badge for the steering wheel column, but to me it just figured like it was pushing it out too much, so I just left it off and put the regular decal on there. There's another photo etch piece down in here. Not as great as the 3D, the kit part, so I would have preferred to keep the kit part in. And then you have the speaker grills down in the bottom. Doesn't really add that much detail over the stock kit molded in detail. I really liked the seat belts. Now it does come with the option to do a 5-point harness. Fujimi also has a kind of a light colored beige material, but I preferred Hobby Design's kind of black material. Was just the one over sling and the lap portion. I ended up losing the buckles here where the seatbelt actually clips into, but they're a very good resin detail, so just make sure you manage to keep them in a plastic bag with everything else so that you don't lose them. And that's pretty much it for the interior. Oh, besides the little floor panels right here, this is all flat detail. That kind of adds a little bit of spruced up detail to it. And then you could probably see in the background there are the foot pedals. Can't really see them that much. And then there's also detail for the driver's or passenger's foot plate. It's like, you know, at the tip of my finger here, you can barely see it. So it's included. Will it really add that extra level of detail? Probably not, because you can't see it. I mean, you'd probably be better off just using the kit parts and then spraying it with, you know, a high shine silver. One of the other little difficult parts was the kit did come with this little template to cut out for the Ferrari badges. It worked out well. It did need a lot of trimming. The template was a lot smaller than these actual metal badges, and that basically made me lose the one over here because it wouldn't seat properly, and it went twing off into no man's land. So just be cautious when if you decide to do the cutouts for the badges here. They are a little tricky, and you're probably best off going with the badge insert as a template rather than the template that Hobby Design offers you. There's a little bit of photo etch detail here on the edge of the headlight. Those were fairly easy to get into place, didn't create any problems with fitment of the headlight, and you know, add a little bit of extra detail to that. What you could have done also is you could paint this all one color and then come in with a little hobby knife to trim off some of that extra, to scrape off some of the paint and expose that kind of headlight detail. Again, totally up to you guys to figure that out. As you guys probably saw, the rest of the body kit went together easily. You follow the tutorials at Z.M.S.C modelworks.com and watch the videos, and that'll give you a pretty good idea of how to what to cut and what not to cut on the body, just to get it to fit. The front lip here, as you can see, I ended up breaking off one of these little pins that are like mounting lugs for the front splitter, which is all one separate piece, but the two extra ones were there and available for me to help seat it. So just take that into account, be careful, and then again, it's up to you whether you decide to leave it on for the main body color or whether you want to remove it. Same thing with the side skirts here. I left those off until the end, and just lining them up was fairly simple. Wheels. This was a little bit of a disappointment. As you can probably see here, there's a little bit of a gap. The tires are bigger than the rim itself. And what that means is that it kind of sits like a baggy sweater. and you kind of get this gap that doesn't really go away at all. And that's a little bit disappointing. I would have preferred a tighter fit, but that's just the way things go. The valve stems for the tires, the turned metal valve stems, always a great addition when you buy hobby design wheels. Unfortunately for this one, because it's an aluminum turned rim, and because I don't have a vise or a drill press, I was very cautious on whether or not I was going to actually, drill these out by hand, and I decided against it, just to leave them off. I'll use those for some other build, because you would want to set this up in a vise, angle it properly, and have a nice level surface when you're drill pressing a hole, plus the proper metal drill bits to make those holes for the valve stems. And then again, that's an option that you guys have. As always, they usually include the badges for the manufacturer's logo. They also have the decals from Fujimi to put those on and make them stand out, kind of like the badge here. I decided to kind of keep with the classy silver look and kind of make it a little bland but add that little spruce of detail. I just decided to leave them off. The brakes are wonderful. They totally replace the stock kit brakes, and they also, as you can see here, come with a little bit of camber. So it's actually molded in there, and that's what you want to make sure of when you're mounting these, is you're getting the proper front and rear, left and right sides. So a lot of dry fitting to make sure that you've got the right part in the right place. When they do have them, there was no adjustment that I needed to make or sanding to get them to fit. They just dropped right into place. So a little bit of super glue and some patience, and they turned out just fine. And they still allows for the kit wheels the kit engineering to turn the wheels, albeit a little less than what you would have over stock. And then it is a little bit tight with the added camber, so you can see it kind of sticks there. Rotors, again, just some photo etch rotor detail, and then the extra little Ferrari logos in there. I sanded that a little bit flat when it was still the resin piece. I glued on the photo etch detail before I primed and painted, and then once the paint had dried, then I used a fine sanding stick just to sand off the paint on top of the metal detail, and that saves you having to paint it in the future by hand, and it kind of gives it that little metallic sheen, and I think really kind of works well with the chrome paint, the rotors, and the rims here as well. It kind of adds that little extra detail, a little eye grabber, when you're turning the wheels like this. It kind of grabs your attention. Same deal with the rear brakes here. Same process was followed. The only really other glaring kind of exterior stuff was all of the photo etch grill pieces. These were great. They fit in just fine. Same with the front ones here. No complaints there. Definitely better over the solid stock pieces. The resin mufflers here, I was having trouble kind of seating them in into the back, but then I just decided I was going to push them a little bit forward and make it look like the old kind of Ferraris that had the exhaust that kind of stuck a little farther out from the body. I think it added to the whole theme of the build that I was going for, and it worked out just fine. As you can see here, the engine bay, you don't really see much, so the only real added photo etch detail were the two the metal kind of fill caps there, which were glued on before paint and then scraped off, and then the same thing with the Ferrari logos on the intake, and then the badge in the center, and then everything else was kind of just given a silver or a black highlight to add a little bit of detail. And I think the only other thing was the rear diffuser here. There's a photo etch piece that goes in the center here, and that was added in prior to paint. Again, if you go to Z.M.S.C.modelworks.com and watch my video and look at the review on how this piece went together, there's a little step in the stock kit that I used as a guide. It ended up being a little too wide, so I would go, towards the rear a little bit more when cutting it, and I have photos showing that whole process. But again, you can see here I made that little step and that little spacer with polystyrene plastic, and it fits if you get it lined up correctly with the tab on the inside. Then the two mounting lugs on the rear bumper here snap right into place, easy as pie. And I think that's pretty much it for, well, besides the license plates. And I bought a set of kind of Scuderia type decals that I added as a little bit of a flair. Kind of just figured it would go well with the build. But yeah, that's the Ferrari F430 by Fujini in 1/24 scale with the Hobby Design LB Works F430 resin kit. This is a very sought after limited edition kit. It's a wonderful resin kit to play around with, and as you can see, it will work just as well for the convertible Spider as it will for the hardtop coupe. So I hope you enjoyed this video series. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down in the description below. If you want to see more videos, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification to get videos as soon as they release, and we'll see you next time for the next Hobby Design sponsored kit, and we'll see you then.